E-League's also here. How are you both doing?
Good.
It's good to be back.
Yeah, it's true. Dan, the week off last week, and
we missed you.
Yeah, I had a nice dry fast. Very good.
You couldn't go by fast enough, right?
There he is.
I don't know if we've gained people from that or lost everyone already. I'm sorry if we have, but thanks for joining us, all our listeners.
I've been losing everyone all week, so it doesn't matter. Thanks, Joe.
I laughed a lot yesterday. God, I gave such terrible advice yesterday. I've had a traumatic 2 days. I gave such terrible fantasy advice yesterday.
Has anyone in the first 4 weeks been able to give any good advice yet? Because everything's kind of just been shattered.
I mean, Nick Chubb was one of my DFS plays on my GoingFor2 article this week. It was Nick Chubb and Jonathan Taylor. Those are your best running backs. So yeah.
But you can't count if they get injured. I mean, if they get injured, that's not your fault.
No.
But if I tell someone not to play Gibson and I tell them to play Jeff Wilson, that's my fault. That's really bad.
Yeah.
Luckily, he's a good friend of mine, and he was just all right.
I can't imagine anyone saying play to Ernest Johnson because Nick Chubb's going down against the Cowboys.
I don't think that's a question. Dontrell Hilliard even got some play at the end. I wonder if he's the better pickup between the two.
Dude, and what about the two guys from the Chargers? Two practice guys, the only two who scored a touchdown. What the? Keenan Allen gets 12 targets and 82 yards, 62 yards, no touchdown. Two guys I can't even remember their names. Don't even know their names. I don't even know if the coach knows their names. Scores the touchdowns. It was a ridiculous day yesterday.
Keenan Allen putting up a Jamison Crowder stat line.
That game sucks so bad.
Oh yeah. That wasn't even this week. I mean, that's Jamison Crowder's normal stat line: 15 targets, not even 100 yards. 15 catches for 90 yards. That's always fun.
Oh my god.
We're gonna stop. Well, I can always rip on Jamison Crowder, but really, the person we all have been ripping on the most this year, probably. And I don't know if the owner listened or the owner realized, oh boy, I made a mistake. But big news, kind of just before the show, so almost breaking, maybe breaking to some of you. Bill O'Brien's been fired by the Houston Texans, relieved as both duties as head coach and general manager. My quick take on this: if he wasn't GM this year and stuff went wrong like this, I think he's fine. I think the fact that he was GM, that he made a trade, and now that trade looking real bad. Brandon Cooks, he's looked at the snap counts, he's playing the most snaps and he's producing the least. So that was obviously not a great trade either. They've been putting him out there and he's just not able to produce, not able to get open. So it seems like all the moves they made to put this team in 0-3 or now 0-4 are being laid at Bill O'Brien's. The blame's being put there. So he's gone.
As it should be. I was reading something today where it said that yesterday's game, all four wide receivers combined for Texans had 9 receptions and 109 yards. Meanwhile, Deandre Hopkins is leading in targets. He's leading in receptions. He's leading in yards. There is no way you can recover from making that big of a mistake. It was huge.
Yeah, I think he looked extremely solid when the AFC South was an absolute dumpster fire. I think that bought him a fair bit of time. You got to look at. I mean, he's won a division when Andrew Luck hasn't played. That sort of thing has transpired.
I mean, technically, he did win the division the year Andrew Luck played, but then Andrew Luck beat him in the playoffs. So the Colts were technically the AFC South champions, even though they didn't win the division.
I think also you got he's won a division 4 out of 5, the last 5 as well. So that's something. I think the only one he didn't win was the one with Tom Savage in 2017. He was there in front anyhow. He's made the Hopkins move was probably to facilitate Laramie Tunsil getting paid. I think and I have no problem with paying a left tackle if it's protecting Deshaun Watson. I don't think anyone could be really upset about that. But and you got to look at it. I mean, Kansas week 1 after no preseason? That's tough. Was it the Steelers they lost to as well? That's tough. The Ravens they've lost to as well. That's tough. But the Vikings game, you're right. If it was just a coaching thing, he might be able to coach his way out. I've written about it this week. I think they play Tennessee, Jacksonville, and Green Bay over the next 3 weeks as well, along with Minnesota. Had they won, They could well have been, 3-4, 4-3, give or take. So it's unlucky. It's unlucky, but not really unlucky because everyone else can see what he's done as a GM has been appalling. So whatever,
Who takes over as head coach there?
They've got Romeo Crennel as interim, but as I said, let the Eric Bieniemy carousel circus to Houston. Oh, he made Mahomes. No, this is going to happen all offseason now. He's a free agent coach at the end of the year, apparently. So we'll see how this ends up, but you never know. You never know here.
So first off, yeah, hi Kyle. Great name, by the way, for a multitude of reasons. Also, great comment. Patricia is next, hopefully. As a Packers fan, I'm saying no. I want Patricia to be there for the next 10 years, but
my problem with Patricia is that Bill Belichick line sucks, but he doesn't take responsibility. It's not his fault. He's going back to what was it last week? He was like, "Yeah, my defense was good during the Super Bowl." This isn't the same team. This week is, I inherited a team that needed a lot of work. You inherited a team that had a winning record, and now they don't, and they're losing fantastically. Like they're ahead by double digits, and they're losing. That's on the coach. That's my main problem with him is he just doesn't step up to responsibility. He's not taking responsibility.
Our cohort from GoingFor2, he's Marvin Lewis 2.0. Are you talking Patricia or Bill O'Brien or both? I don't know. I would argue Marvin Lewis is probably, you know what? And I'll give Bill O'Brien credit because I think he's actually a very great play caller, great offensive coordinator. I didn't think he was horrible as a head coach. Obviously, there's some, in-game decisions, not so much game clock management like an Andy Reid, but just, risky decisions that seemed unwarranted. I know everyone will go back to the playoffs last year against the Chiefs and the going for, the fake punt that obviously turned out to be disastrous. Yeti Express is talking about Bill O'Brien. To be honest, Matt Patricia's probably worse than both of them. It's probably an insult to both of them to compare Matt Patricia to.
He's found out how hard play calling for the Texans was when he realized this week that he didn't have DeAndre Hopkins. That's happened. He's he's gone.
Oh, damn.
AJ Smithington in the house. How's it going, AJ? Glad to have you.
Hi, AJ.
So,
Diesel. Okay.
Comment that was made earlier, actually, from Yeti DFS. I wanted to get back to. So maybe just to quickly highlight probably the two biggest fantasy performances that, I'll be honest, even I was kind of not crazy about. It's not showing up on the screen, I don't think.
It was Joe Mixon and OBJ.
Yeah, Joe Mixon, OBJ. I'll be honest, I was struggling with the decision of, do I go Joe Mixon or Mark Ingram, right? Like that, they were that close, and I think now they're just chasms apart, I think, after 1 week.
Mark Ingram's in a share with two other. Joe Mixon, in theory, is the sole running back that they have. He just wasn't producing. I played him, but only out of necessity. Like, I had no one else with the COVID and the postponements, so I had to play Joe Mixon, so it luckily worked out. But, yeah, it was a pleasant surprise. OBJ, too. But I think the OBJ was kind of more you expected that with the Dallas secondary being as putrid as they are. Yeah. OBJ or Jarvis was going to eat in that game because Dallas defense just is bad. Just historically bad.
I think with Mixon as well, in patches this year, he's done things that have been okay, but I think this is the first time they've collectively said, okay, it's go and get it done. A couple of weeks he's looked okay rushing the ball. Mm-hmm. Okay, knowing what you were going to get out of the Bengals week one with Joe Burrow, and congrats on your first professional win. That's cool stuff. But I think also knowing how that was going to work, and then the next week he was okay with receiving and the rushing wasn't there, and they used a bit more Gio Bernard in the 2 minute, and I think he had a touchdown that was pulled back. It never really looked like it clicked, and this was the first week where it has. I don't know if that repays everyone that spent a first rounder on him. I'm not sure if that's a lot of people that took him in the first round this year. I'm not sure how they're going to feel next week because 3 bad weeks and 1 good week are 2. I mean, I have Mixon everywhere. I'm a big Joe Mixon fan, and seeing that you could make the argument of selling him now if you're that worried. I think in terms of fantasy, because a 40-point game isn't something to sneeze at, but at the same time, we've seen 3 games where they haven't got it right with him, and that's a problem too. So,
and next week it's Baltimore, so
much tougher than the Jaguars, I'm guessing. And it's not just because Calais Campbell switched between the two teams.
Yeah, next week it's the Ravens.
So before we get to the preview, just to, I guess, like talking about Odell Beckham Jr., right? I mean, I played him in every league I had him. I don't think he was necessarily I think anyone who had him was going to play him. I think it's more from a DFS perspective. They probably were really low ownership, both Beckham and Mixon. So anyone who played them DFS standpoint probably won a lot of money, especially if you played both. That's a winning lineup right there. The Cowboys need to be talked about. They should be 0-4, is what Yeti Express DFS says. Obviously referring to a team playing tonight, the Falcons, and allowing them to recover an onside kick and ultimately win the game.
Well, I mean, it's their defense, right? You can't possibly say it's their offense when Dak is putting up like 500 yards a game and so many touchdowns. Their defense is letting in 500 yards or something. It was really astronomically bad. And then they let go of Byron Jones, who is hurt, but probably would have helped that secondary. Sean Lee and the second-year kid, Leighton Vander Esch, hurt.
He's always hurt, yeah.
Wasn't that the knock on draft day? That he was in college, he was hurt a lot too?
It was why he may have slid down a little bit. I think they got him in the first still-around pick 2021. That would be vague for me to remember, but he always had the whole, we're going to groom him with Sean Lee. That was the sort of thing. And that, I mean, you want to talk about a guy that's hurt as well. They've groomed him probably around the wrong player. I think I cannot wait until the end of the season and Dallas kind of fumble their way into not paying Dak Prescott again. I can't wait for Dak to be the next quarterback for Chicago. I've been saying it all offseason. It's going to happen. He's going to end up somewhere that's going to be like, you know what? We know what you can do. We're going to pay you. Dak Prescott is ridiculous. He makes some mistakes, okay, but like I've spent the past 10 years watching Eli Manning. So watching what Dak Prescott can do is nothing in comparison to that. This guy's going to throw up 400, 450 and 3 to 4 touchdowns, and he drags his team every week, doesn't he? Win or loss, you can't say that he's not doing his part. 0-4, yes. I don't think that's because of him, though. And, I'm an NFC East guy. I hope they all go, 0-1 and whatever, 13, 14. It's one of those things, but he is playing lights out. He's proving his worth every cent that they haven't paid him. It's still ridiculous that they didn't pay him. They've paid Zeke, a running back, an 8-year deal. And the guy didn't turn up. He was in Cabo the whole time in negotiations, right? And now you can't afford to play the guy that's willing your team to 45 points a game. It's ridiculous. That's so bad.
Talking about the off season, right? And, mismanagement. A lot of people are kind of going with these Dallas trash comments. I think they like what you're saying, Gladys and Dan. Izzy Ortiz, saying pay that man, right? And paying players. I mean, they did pay somebody big money this offseason, and really they had the tough choice to make, right? You've got 3 players. Tennessee was in the exact same scenario. You've got your quarterback, a skilled player, and a key. I guess for Tennessee was a key offensive lineman, but here a key defender, cornerback Byron Jones. And they chose to let Jones walk. They chose to pay Cooper for that big long-term contract and tag Dak. And at the very least, it seems like Jones should have been one of the decisions to keep. It probably should have been, pay your franchise quarterback long-term and probably tag Jones to keep him and then let Amari Cooper walk. And I think if they knew they were going to get CeeDee Lamb at 17, they probably would have done that. So this is unfortunate. I mean, if this was the NHL where the draft happens first, Jerry Jones probably would have done this brilliantly and perfectly, but it's not. And I'm saying that because the NHL draft's actually happening this week, so good timing there. Not that this is a hockey show. But yeah, so I think, mentioning the defense, I think, they really miss Byron Jones. They don't have a corner that can shut down an opposing receiver and, stop anybody from getting open. At least if you had, with Jones, they had that one guy that, okay, they can take away a top option and force teams to look elsewhere. But, even with Jones, it would be tough to envision them as a shutdown defense. But I think that's a decision they may come to regret. And we could move on to, unless anyone else wants to rip on the Cowboys some more. We could probably go on and do that for an hour if we really wanted to.
I can follow up by saying Philly suck again. I don't care if they win. I'm just going to say that every week that we're on here. I'm going to get
your Giants could win the NFC East.
No. No. We can laugh. Hey, listen, Pittsburgh away at Chicago, San Fran, and away at LA. That's not an easy opening, but no, the Giants are terrible. So there's no denial here. It's just as long as I can get a Philly suck in every week.
All my Dwayne Haskins shares actually hope Washington wins it. So he keeps that job.
He looked okay. He had 300 yards this week. No real turnovers. I think
his best fantasy performance, and I have Tannehill in a ton of leagues, so I was forced to start him in a couple places, and I was okay. He finally had a good going. Someone unfortunately I played was the Dallas defense, so yet he expressed DFS. I felt this week I started them. Oh, it's the Browns. Baker's going to turn it over a couple times. They'll get some sacks. Nope. 48 points or 41? 49 points. Wow. Yeah.
3 touchdowns by OBJ, 1 thrown by Jarvis Landry.
Shout out to Sean Sullivan, garbage time stats. Good for fantasy, but bad for actually winning games. And also my reading, slightly bad there, but not as bad as the Cowboys defense, who apparently couldn't read an offense if it was, picture book. I don't know. Picture the joke yourself. We're going to move on to the Monday night previews because that's what we are here for is Monday Night Football. And there's two games. It doesn't seem like the Patriots-Chiefs game is getting canceled anytime soon. That's going on right now. And, sponsor shout out, I suppose, or not suppose it is BUSR. And, Dan was nice enough to come up with, research the stats and see the over-unders. So I didn't have to. Thanks, Dan. BUSR.com/GoingFor2. Sign up now. You get a 20% bonus offer when joining. I mean, you do this right now. You can bet on these games tonight, even. So, feel free to join now. Again, BUSR.com/GoingFor2 for that 20% bonus offer. So we've got. So where's the first? Sorry, here it is. Yes, Chiefs Patriots. I can read. So the over/under combined 49. Patriots. Sorry, not the Patriots. The Chiefs are favored by 12. I was wondering what it was going to be, especially, and I think this line totally changed, obviously, with the adjustment of the game and knowing that Cam Newton wasn't going to be playing. Does anyone remember what the line was before when it was expected? Cam was expected to start.
So it started at 7, it went to 10, and now it's 11.5.
Yeah.
So it started at 7 when they thought Cam was playing.
Yeah. So almost double.
It went to 10 when they were unsure what the COVID situation is, and now it's 11.5 or 12. Yeah. Well, Brian Hoyer's quarterbacking, so there you have it.
He's not going to have any fear throwing it, is he? He's never really shied away from chucking it out there.
You're going to have no choice against the Chiefs, probably. So
listen, he is as good of a system quarterback for the Patriots since Tom Brady. So, sorry. Well,
I mean, wasn't Garoppolo better?
Whoa.
I thought Garoppolo was at least better.
Giants fans got to get those jabs out somehow. I've got this pent-up impression. But look, I don't think Hoyer's it's not like he's unfamiliar with the system. He's been there before. He's done that with them before. And up until about 2 months ago, it was either him or Jarrett Stidham that was the starting quarterback, right? Like no one really knew. I was like, oh, Cam Newton, we have him, and we're still looking at Stidham and Hoyer. I mean, that was kind of a given in the end, but Hoyer's capable. It's not like we're chucking up Blaine Gabbert out there. Well, maybe. But, I mean, he's not the worst. In terms of backup quarterbacks, he's not the worst one out there. He can go out and get some work done. But
he has to keep up with Casey's offense. Can he do that? That would be the question.
At the moment, the over-under set at 49, so we just need him to keep up enough. I think that's enough. At plus 12, he's just got to be close enough. And, they do get James White back, which is great as well. Huge addition for the Patriots this week. And they've already got Brian Hoyer at 234.5 for the over-under. and 37.5 attempts. So I think that's gone out.
234?
234.5 passing yards is the over-under and 37.5 pass attempts. So, I mean, they think he's going to go out and give it some. Like,
I mean, I think that, it's safer to go with the attempts for sure. Like, I think he's probably going to have to throw it 40 times. Now, is he going to be effective enough to reach 235 yards on 40 attempts? You would think so. I think that much volume he should, but maybe not. But yeah, just if you're looking at individual lines, I prefer going for the attempts over the yards. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Half an interception. I think that's probably because if we think he's going to force it, I think that's maybe even the most obvious.
I saw that and I was like, that seems like, come on, like that one I saw it. I just got a kick out of. But I mean, even when I was putting this together earlier, it was like, what are we meant to say about the Chiefs in a situation like this? What are you meant to say? Like, they're at home to a team without Cam Newton, and they're firing on all cylinders at the moment.
Does the Cam Newton even make a difference? I mean, is it just the Chiefs? I mean, because Lamar Jackson didn't really make a difference last week.
Yeah, I think you would have made him think a little bit. He would have made him work.
Yeah, you're right.
I think Cam would have made a bigger difference. My situation with Hoyer is, who is he going to throw it to? Like, N'Keal Harry was good with Cam, but he wasn't good with Tom. Bird, maybe Edelman. You can't chuck it to Edelman like 50 times.
Well,
you could. I mean, you could, but I don't know how statistically efficient that would be.
Yeah, I would have thought that if Hoyer's been around long enough and he would have worked with, like, you want to look at outside guys looking in. Jacoby Myers is a guy that we might be looking at today who might get some run if he's been running with the twos a little bit more. It might have been Hoyer, might have been working with N'Keal Harry before as well. Look, it could be. I think it'd be more safer than sorry for the Patriots tonight. I don't think they're going to try and.
Well, I think
they're not going to rewrite everything for Hoyer. I don't think it'll be what's safe and how can we manage this as diligently as possible.
I think we are burying the headline too, because I actually didn't even know this. I was hoping to discover this on the show, and Julian Edelman is inactive, so we should let people know. If you'll excuse me, I've got a couple lineups to change.
Yeah, Julian Edelman's inactive.
Wow.
Yes, apparently.
So I'm going to go with whoever said KC by 20. I'm going with that line. I'm going over on the point differential. They will win by more than 11. Yeti. I'm with you, Yeti.
Yeah, I mean, if you're taking away their best passing option and their quarterback, probably.
Yeah, it's
probably a tough one for the Patriots. But listen, it's Belichick, and they'll figure something out. Not much. I don't think it'll change. But I don't think they'll be as disgraced as what some other teams could be going to Kansas without a quarterback and their top receiver. They'll do enough on the defensive side of the ball to at least show face a bit. I think this is going to be a given though.
Yeah, but so Stephon Gilmore has, I think, traditionally shut down Sammy Watkins. He's been on Sammy Watkins' side. That still leaves Tyreek and Travis Kelce and McCall Hardman. The Patriots defense hasn't really shown that much that I believe that they are going to be able to completely shut down Kansas City. If the Ravens couldn't do it, I don't see why the Patriots are going to be able to do it.
Well, so 295.5 passing yards for Patrick Mahomes, what's been set currently?
Over.
And 2.5 passing touchdowns, and Kelce at 5.5 receptions. I thought they were quite interesting.
5.5 receptions?
Yeah.
Wow. That's really low, isn't it?
Yeah, I would have thought. But again, I saw a bit more contrast, because if we do believe the Patriots are going to get absolutely dealt here, I thought maybe a bit more of a trap would have been over-under receptions for Clyde Edwards-Helaire at 4.5, and the over-under for receiving yards at 31.5. I thought that might be interesting to get your takes on that.
So I'm still trying to look for confirmation on the Edelman being out.
There's
more rumors right now. I haven't heard the full confirmation yet, so before we full panic.
Do you have him in some leagues?
I think, I'm starting him in one. Of course, again, and this is something I think we need to start stressing kind of all the time. because we never know if games are going to start getting replaced Monday now, is figure out the Monday night game, and you don't even need to put waiver claims on them. But after waivers run and first come, first serve, just go pick up a bunch of players that are playing on Monday night that you think will at least do something or have any chance at a ceiling, and just hold them through the week. And that way, in case any games kind of get postponed last minute or you have any Monday night injuries, I mean, I know, this week, Devontae Adams, Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, questionable. So at least in every league, I was looking, okay, I need to pick up another Monday night player to put in just in case. It ended up being Robert Tonyan in a bunch of places. And the Falcons receiver, Olamide Zaccheaus, I picked him up in maybe 4 or 5 leagues I've got him Monday. And I think, in one league, that's who I have for Edelman. That's my only option to put in for Edelman if Edelman's out. So
I can't see anything on Edelman either.
Yeah, so maybe not. Maybe you jumped the gun there a little. That was just I saw it on Twitter. Still trying to find that out. So we're gonna probably spend that. I mean, he was questionable, right? So we should get an answer on if he's playing or not. They would announce that, I would think.
Yeah, it's the first game too, right? It's the first game that's being played tonight.
Yeah, and it's starting in just over half an hour. So do kind of expect an announcement on that shortly.
Let's see if I can pull it up.
Yeah, so we're gonna keep looking for that through the show. Stay tuned. Okay, Yeti DFS says Edelman's active according to DraftKings. Do figure DraftKings would get what he wants there. Sorry, they get what they want. Yeah. Anyway. Just looking at the comments, someone did mention something because Sony Michel is out. That was something that was confirmed, I believe, yesterday or earlier today.
Right.
Sean Sullivan asking, does Damien Harris to make an appearance?
Well, I've noticed that the biggest uproar was that his girlfriend came out and said that he was being activated by Instagram. So she let that one out of the bag. So it sounded that way earlier.
Okay.
By the way, I'm up against Patrick Mahomes in the Kansas City defense in one league, and I have a 120-point league, and I'm nervous. It's going to go either way. Ugh. I haven't seen anything on other than that on Harris. That's all I saw. But,
okay. Yeah. So I think, if he is active, I don't know how much run he's going to get. Do expect. Yeah, especially in a game against the Chiefs, the pass catching aspect is going to be key for running back. So James White and Rex Burkhead both fill that role well.
There we go. But Rappaport, Field Yates, all of those cats, bringing running back Damien Harris off injured reserve to play tonight. Source said, with Sony Michel not making the trip, Harris will get carries. And Gunnar Olszewski.
Olszewski.
Sure.
I think. I don't even know if that's right.
Him too.
Who made that man a gunner and just makes baseball jokes? That's usually what we do at full press coverage. Really,
highly underrated movie.
Love that movie. One of the funniest movies ever. So good question about fantasy wise. I think just like Waller, anytime I had Waller, I knew that was a risk against the Patriots, but every week starter anyway. I think Kelsey and Hill are both in the same boat. You're not going to bench them, but it is to ponder that. Bill eliminates, does like to, okay, what's your best weapon? I'm going to shut it down. Against Mahomes, though, can he even do that? Because
Mahomes is the best weapon.
Yeah,
so, normally the quarterback is anyway, but he is unlike any other quarterback, or more so than any other quarterback. So and I know we tried to surmise on the full press fantasy pod this week. What were they going to do? And maybe they do try and actually put Gilmore on Hill. Maybe that is a way to at least try and shut that down. And Gilmore throws a bunch of different types of coverage that he can press. Maybe he'll play off and just try and confuse Hill. That might be the way to go about it. And then you kind of one-on-one there, and then try and, because we saw them double Waller last week. Do they try and do a combination of those two things and Gilmore on an island and then basically make Sammy Watkins beat us? Although that's probably what's going to happen.
Before you know it, Demarcus Robinson's tearing you up for 130 or 4 receptions. Try all you like. It doesn't matter. There'll be a Byron Pringle play that goes for whatever. It's just
their best weapon is going to be run White all day long. White and Harris. Damien Harris, run James White. Just keep the ball out of Patrick Mahomes' hand.
That happened last year. I remember a game last year. The Colts on the road at Kansas, and they beat Kansas in Kansas, and it felt like they ran Marlon Mack and Jordan Wilkins into the ground, and it was a low-scoring, sloppy game, and that all they did was just keep the ball away from Mahomes. If that's the best weapon you have is Patrick Mahomes, all you can do is hope to try and keep it away from him. I think you're going to have to run it. They're going to have to keep it. They're going to have to play keep away. That's it, I think.
So here's a good over-under, not so much, but a question from David Webb on Facebook. Confident Gurley can get 11 PPR points. I think my confidence on that would be whether or not Kenny Clark, knowing Kenny Clark's out, I would say for sure, just because the Packers are lacking, their starting middle linebacker, Christian Kirksey, who's already been ruled out, and I think been placed on IR actually. So, been out for a few weeks. And then if Kenny Clark, the starting nose tackle, is not there either, I mean, you suddenly gap up the middle. I know Ty Summers actually played pretty well last week. I was impressed. But, no Kenny Clark. I think Gurley definitely gets there. If not, the one problem with Gurley is that he hasn't been involved in the passing game, at all. So if the Packers get an early lead, he could get game scripted out. So I think, knowing that Adams is out, I think that maybe pushes that. I would say how confident I am that he gets 11 PPR points, probably 2/3 to 3/4 confidence. So call it 70% if you wanted. But just knowing that if the Packers get an early lead quick, which they've had big leads in game, but they've also been allowing early first quarter touchdowns. I mean the Packers have been down in every game in the first quarter. I think every first quarter has ended either tied or trailing. So Gurley could maybe opening drive early on, first quarter, get 11 points right away. But if he doesn't, it might be tough sledding later on.
My only concern would be Brian Hill, who has out-targeted Gurley and has kind of kept up with the same amount of touches. So I don't know if they're trying to save Gurley with his knee. Well, they can't be saving him for playoffs because they are 3. So I don't know what they're doing, but my confidence level would be 55% that he would get 11 PPR points, but I would watch out for Brian Hill stealing some of that away from him.
Well, he's had over 14 PPR points in 2 out of the 3 games he's played, and they were in blowouts anyway, right? Yeah. I wouldn't really call the Chicago game a blowout, but it wasn't a blowout for Chicago, I guess. But I think Green Bay can be had on the run. I think they can, and I think with Julio and Ridley were questionable. I know they're playing. Was it Malcolm Gage had the concussion as well, right, last week, and he's fine, he's back.
Yep.
That would make me just as nervous in those receivers, more so than Gurley. And everyone's missing almost as receivers for Green Bay. I don't think this is going to be the high-scoring game everyone thinks it will be. I know everyone scores in Atlanta, but man, Adams out, Lazard out, and you're hoping Robert Tonyan, Jay Sternberger, and MVS can. It's Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams are going to have to go ham tonight, and I just don't know if.
How are you feeling?
I don't think Atlanta's going to be chasing as high a points total as what we've seen in recent weeks.
I mean, there's a lot of players questionable, so I don't even know how to feel until I know for sure who's actually playing. Because again, Kenny Clark, and that makes such a huge difference. Mm-hmm. We saw it in the Vikings game. It's the only game he's played, right? Up to basically halftime, 3 points allowed. He gets hurt, and then basically a half and a few minutes, they scored 24 points. And it's not just because of Clark, but because he was on the field when they scored an opening drive touchdown right away in the first quarter. But after that, he was playing so solidly. When he's on the field, he's always commanding double teams, and if not, he's coming in the backfield and going to force you to double team him on the next play. So that's a big factor. I know Zadarius Smith was questionable, so if both of those guys are out, then I'm kind of this will definitely have to be Rodgers vintage. Okay, you actually have to carry the team, which he can.
It's going to have to. Imagine saying to Aaron Rodgers, "Hey, listen, you don't have Lazard, you don't have Devontae Adams, and you're coming up against Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, Matt Ryan, and Todd Gurley." That's madness. But Aaron Rodgers, if there's anyone capable, Aaron Rodgers 100% is that guy to do it. I also respect the Bo Dallas reference as well. Very good.
Yeah, not a WWE fan, so I was hoping to give some love to David from somebody, but so thanks, Dan.
don't mind a Bo Dallas reference. Very good.
The one thing with Gurley, though, is that, yes, not involved in the passing game and is seeding work even as carries between the 20s, but he is getting so many red zone and specifically goal line opportunities. And, it's very touchdown dependent. If he doesn't score, I don't think he reaches 11 PPR points. But if he's able to punch it in the end zone, which, again, Packers have been very vulnerable that way. Kerryon Johnson, Dalvin Cook twice, Alvin Kamara. I mean, technically one was a receiving touchdown, not a rushing touchdown, so only once. But, they've been allowing rushing touchdowns every game. So
I feel confident. I actually feel confident in that one. 11 points for Gurley.
Yeah, I think it's key to the touchdown. If he scores a touchdown, he probably gets that for sure. If not, I think he'll struggle to get it if he doesn't score. So that's really what it comes down to, I think, David. Anything else about either of these games to preview? Do we have official confirmation on Edelman yet? I think we're still looking.
Yeah, I didn't see anything that said he was out. So
okay.
I'm assuming that he's in because
right.
that would be the news.
Yeah, well, and I mean, you feel like that would be news, right? Like if he's out, that would be announced. And but again,
I want to know that.
It is worrisome that he is questionable and they're not announcing it because normally that's they'll always announce if a player's questionable. They'll always mention when they're in. I mean, did anyone check his Twitter account or his Instagram? Like, did he mention anything about him starting today? Because it seems like that's the reliable source of news is the receivers themselves. I mean, Yeti DFS keeps saying he's active, so he must be.
I'm looking on.
If we're not seeing it by now,
yeah, Sleeper says Edelman suits up for Monday night game.
Okay.
Edelman is listed as active for the Monday night game against the Chiefs.
All right, there you go. So I could stop panicking. And everyone else can stop panicking. I can stop worrying everybody. Sorry if everyone. So any thoughts about Monday, or are there any other players earlier in the week that deserve praise or shame?
Shame. Kenyon Drake deserves shame. Kenyon Drake deserves much shame, and he deserves to be dropped from your list if you have that. Oh, come on. Carolina. He was going against Carolina's run defense, and he averages 2.1 yards or something like that per carry. Come on.
Also, flat drop seems hard. He hasn't had less than 10 points yet. I'll say this. Except for the Carolina game.
His worst.
Jets week 5, Dallas week 6, Seattle week 7, and then the bye in week 8. Like, he's got some... I know we could say Carolina and he should have done better, and he 100% should have done better. I've been saying all offseason Chase Edmonds is a guy that everyone should have. If you are someone who had or have Kenyon Drake, you should have been more diligent about getting Chase Edmonds because there was no way he wasn't not getting work in. He was last year when David Johnson was out, and he only had the one game, but he went nuts. Against my Giants, I remember. But it's also one of those things where Chase Edmonds has proven that he's very, very capable, and he's more than likely sitting around on waiver wires doing nothing in redraft. No one's really gone out to get him, and he's probably going to be one of the biggest fab pickups of this week, I would assume. He'd have to be. But again, those next 3 games that Arizona have, the Jets, Dallas, and Seattle, I would think he might be looking at better days ahead. So if Dallas just had 300 yards rushing, I know he's not Nick Chubb or Kareem Hunt, but he'll carve something out there.
I think Seattle especially been giving up a lot of rushing touchdowns too. So if he, and he is still the goal line back. That's the one role he still has as them. He's their guy in the red zone.
Chase Edmonds has had 2 passing, receiving touchdowns, red zone based. So he's also that guy too. Like I am an Edmonds guy
from a target.
Like he's getting that look too.
Wasn't Drake he didn't even have a run past 10 yards yesterday?
I mean, he had 3 points.
The longest was 9. Yes, that is correct.
He was abysmal against the Carolina run defense. Come on.
And I think the big concern with Drake is, 100% catch rate this year. He's caught every target. He's only had 5 targets.
He wasn't targeted at all yesterday.
4 games, 5 targets. Yeah, exactly. And Chase Edmonds had more targets against Carolina than Kenyon Drake has had all season. So the worry with, Dallas and Seattle, if those games do turn out to shootouts, which other than Seattle this week, every Dallas game has been, he's probably not going to be. I mean, he's still on the field twice as much as Chase Edmonds, but they're just either not giving it to him or just having him pass protect, or he's a decoy, just not really getting the work. I don't know if I'm dropping him either, but I don't think I have many redraft leagues. But if I did a redraft, I don't think I'd drop him. But now I think he's definitely lost the status of an every week starter. And the tough thing here is to know when to start him, because this was supposed to be a good matchup, right? So
the only reason I wouldn't drop him is because so many people are getting injured. You need to keep a healthy roster. You know what I mean? You need to keep people that. Although didn't he get hurt in the fourth quarter and didn't come back? But I think it was just a minor injury. But you wouldn't drop him because
it would be very hard to drop someone right now. We just saw the Tennessee and Pittsburgh game get canned, and this game could very well have been pushed back to Tuesday if there were more tests that came back. And if that had happened, this game might have been put back to week 9 or 10 as well. So, it's very hard to look at people who are underperforming and wanting to let go, especially if you've invested high capital in them per se. But he's been as big of a letdown. But I mean, we could have just said Joe Mixon today as well. Had he not had that game, everyone would have. They were already on Mixon last week, so it's tough. It's really tough. I mean, I could go back to Darius Slayton and him having all that opportunity this year, and he looks appalling. He's done absolutely nothing, and there are a lot of guys out there at the moment that are dropping, and this COVID thing is just going to wreck people. And it might be a wait to sell on a lot of people. You just got to wait for that 1 or 2 game and then just go. Yeah, we see this here. Like Drake Ingram looks like.
I just wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, listen, as a Giants fan, Evan Ingram has been absolutely getting it from the Giants supporters. He'll slip, right? And it's intercept, nearly pick 6. Like, these are the sorts of things that are happening. He'll fumble or an OPI or something like that. He's been killing them as more than anything, but this is the first week where he kind of looked a bit more competent. But there's a lot more factors in Ingram not being so great this year than anything. But Drake and Cooks, Brandon Cooks was everyone's darling this week. As a cheap play on DFS or someone that was a big week against Minnesota.
DraftKings, Yahoo. I was on both sides. Like, he's a great play.
Yeah. With bad teams, I just generally opt for the cheaper guy. So I would have looked at like Stills or something. I know that's what I would have done.
I remember on DraftKings they were all the same price. Cook, Stills, and Cobb were all the same price. I think that was why Cooks was. Well, if they're the same, he's the same price as them. You may as well go for the upside, right?
Yeah.
Disappointments abound. So any more disappointments from this week? I mean, I wanted to kind of shout out Tyler Lockett, actually. I know, the fear was, okay, Seattle gets it by so much, blows them out, they don't have to throw. But that was a tight game all the way through, and he finished what? It was 3 catches, less than 50 yards.
He had 2 receptions, and he didn't get thrown to until the fourth quarter.
So, yeah.
He didn't pass until the fourth quarter. I don't know. I mean, Chris Carson took away a lot of the thunder. But, yeah, Tyler Lockett didn't see a pass until the fourth quarter.
Because DK Metcalf was fine. He saw lots of targets. And, maybe just the matchup they wanted to exploit. But, I mean, was Noah Igbinogene? Like, was that guy as a rookie really that scary of a matchup against Lockett if he was on him the whole time?
I think we got to talk about Tom Brady and 5 touchdowns.
Yeah. Okay. Talk about Tom Brady, 5 touchdowns.
Technically 6, right? But I think he's done this without Chris Godwin. It looks like OJ Howard's done his Achilles as well.
Yeah.
I mean, for those who are believers in Tom Brady, Cam Brate is a name that we should be looking at as well. But Scotty Miller, Justin Watson, if he's going to spread it around, this Bucks team could do some damage as long as the season goes on, I think. And, Ronald Jones looked, obviously Keyshawn Vaughn got it. He scored as well, right, this week. So Ronald Jones looked competent. It was weird without Fournette. and we'll see how that plays over the coming weeks as his ankle gets better. But at the same time, and look, we could say it's Justin Herbert and he's played 3 games and he's lost 3 games, right? Like, we can say that, and that's fine, but you've still got, there's been a chance in every game that Justin Herbert's been out there as well. So it's not like he's not been competitive. It's not like he's come out and been like Nathan Peterman. He's been solid. So it was competitive. The Bucs get up 38-31, and the Saints had to come behind. They scored 35 unanswered points at Detroit. How much you trust the box score on that? You could look at that and go, was it 34? Was it 30? Where is it? 35-29 or something stupid like that? Like,
what are you talking about? The Saints, the game like.
I'm saying it's 35-29, and the Saints went off and put up 35 straight. Like, how much you trust the Saints to be able to beat Tampa again? I don't know. That might have just been week 1 and Brady not settled into the Buccaneers. I think the Bucs might take the NFC South, and I think that's a very big possibility at this point.
But like you're saying, yesterday, his targets, Evans had 8, Miller had 7, O.J. Howard had 6, Watson had 6, and Rojo had 9. So he's spreading the ball around. And that's not even – and Gronk only had 3, and he's usually his highest target person.
How long Brady can keep up passing it 40 times a game, 35 times a game is another thing. But at the same time, like, 5 touchdowns is something. And, we can look at Brady and go, oh, he's old and he can't throw it as far as he used to. But I don't care. 5 touchdowns if you've got him quarterback 2 for the week so far before tonight's games, and that's impressive. Has to be taken serious.
And one thing to look at, Football Outsiders adjusted sack rate, and the Bucs O-line. It's been an underachieving unit all throughout the recent time. Always been allowing a lot of sacks and pressures. They're top 10, or they were top 10 entering this week. And looking against the Chargers, I think they may even maintain or even raise that ranking. They held them at bay pretty well, and you do wonder how much a quarterback really does make an offensive line in that sense of Brady. Because he can get the ball so quickly and avoid sacks, maybe it's inflating the numbers a little bit for this Tampa offensive line. But however it's happening, they're tending to protect him a lot better than what was perceived to be. I know I expected, okay, this could be, all these weapons, great, but how is he going to do behind this offensive line? And it seems like that hasn't been an issue, really. I think it was week 1 against the Saints, but it seems like now that they've gotten going, that offensive line's actually playing pretty well. So I think that's again, maybe that is because of Brady, and he's just that great, and that's what he.
So left tackle, the rookie Tristan Wirfs, only allowed 2 pressures on Brady yesterday, and that was against Joey Bosa. So the offensive line is starting to, and it's probably because Brady's threatening him, I get touched, and you're probably not going to play another game. So let's step it up. But yeah, it was Tristan Wirfs against Joey Bosa, 2 pressures, and Joey Bosa had the lowest PFF ranking that he's had in 7 games.
It's a big deal.
Yeah.
If Brady stays upright, he gets the ball out quick, and he's got guys like Godwin, Miller, Evans, and Watson. Fournette's capable with his hands. Ronald Jones is, I guess, getting better, but it's one of those things. If he's getting rid of it quick, they are going to put teams away quicker than not, I think.
Is he telling us to wrap up? Is that what that is? Is that what his whole message is?
Not me. I'm sitting in the dark. I've made a mistake.
At least you can hear us, though.
Trying to shift that around. I'm going to shift around and hope we'll get out in 20 minutes. Pretty bad.
Okay, so idea for a wrap-up. Fun wrap talking about contenders, pretenders. AFC, it's KC, Baltimore for me. NFC, it's Packers, Seahawks, and
a lot of depth.
So I think first off for AFC contenders, I liked what Tennessee was doing. I thought, and we'll see how much this outbreak of COVID affects that and what comes of that season. But I still think they're the best team in the AFC South at the very least. And so I could see them competing. And I mean, with that defense and the way Josh Allen's playing, I know he still makes some boneheaded mistakes every game, it seems, but 1 or 2 a game as opposed to on almost every drive. We saw maybe more of that as a rookie. Maybe a little harsh on him there, but I think Buffalo also kind of deserves to be up there. Truthfully, the way I see it, though, I don't think it's Kansas City and Baltimore. I think it's Kansas City, and then maybe Baltimore ahead of everyone else, but I think Kansas City is still. I mean, they kind of proved it against Baltimore Monday night. Is those two teams aren't really in the same tier. I don't know if anyone in the league is the same tier as Kansas City, to be honest.
But has Kansas City suffered less, knock on wood, not that I would want that, but less injuries than a lot of the other teams too.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to be like attrition. Whoever has the most players standing at the end of the season is going to be there. It's fantasy. It's going to be that fantasy. It's going to be like that in reality.
One thing I'm going to say about Baltimore too, and I don't know, not sure about the effects of Washington, but the talk was, Marshall Yonda leaving. That's not going to be that big a deal. It's still a great offensive line. They were 31st in adjusted sack rate entering this week, which, for a team that runs so much like Baltimore, a few sacks can really skew that percentage wise. But still, 31st that's pretty bad. For a unit that was, pass protection last year, I believe top 10, and even in run blocking, they seem fine. I think they were top 10. I think they were number 10 entering week 4. So really, pass protection has been an issue for them.
I'll tell you what I say for the AFC. For me, contenders. After not seeing them play this week, Pittsburgh. I got a smile out of Gladys. I think Pittsburgh are contenders. I think they are built for December, and I think they could go on a nice run. They have looked very, very nice. They're winning games. It doesn't have to be pretty all the time, right? Pittsburgh, it doesn't have to be pretty. It just has to be effective, and they can do that. I think down the stretch, if they can hang with Baltimore, I think Pittsburgh could do some damage as it goes along. In terms of pretenders, if you've beaten Miami and you've beaten the Jets and you let the Rams come back from behind and the same sort of thing with the Raiders, I'm going to say Buffalo. Buffalo's going to put 45 points up a game if they want. That's fine, but they're beating guys that are just.
That's true.
They aren't. The Rams nearly came back, and they probably should have won that. That pass interference was garbage, and they got had. So for me, I think at times, look, they barely put away a Las Vegas Raiders team without Henry Ruggs, Brian Edwards. They barely did that, 30-23. You've got to win it against everyone. And again, we can talk about winning ugly. They did. So I'm all right with that. But I think if you're talking about a team like Buffalo that comes up against a team like Pittsburgh late in the season, I will put my chips in on Pittsburgh. I have zero problems on Ben Roethlisberger, what he has at his disposal. And if you're looking at Dupree, Williams, TJ Watt, those sorts of guys, I don't think their cornerbacks are going to have problems with Stephon Diggs either. So I would say that if you're looking at contenders and pretenders, the Bills can be had. Eventually, they will get found out. And I kind of like Pittsburgh this year to make some noise when it counts.
Do you think enough to where the Patriots could win the division? Because, the thing with the Bills, the Steelers, the Titans, Ravens and Chiefs, excellent defenses.
I like
what
the Patriots have done so far. I think everyone is very surprised to see them do what they've done. I think everyone loves seeing Cam Newton on the field doing what he does best. This is not a question. Like, how many times do you see the Patriots getting sympathy as a team for people wanting to see them do well because Cam Newton makes people happy? That's a question on its own. Can they get a
people in sympathy for the Patriots? That phrase didn't almost compute in my brain, to be honest.
Imagine that. They've got Cam Newton, and people are like, man, let's hope Cam Newton gets a starting job and shows everyone. And people are watching the Patriots because they want to see Cam Newton do well. That's a human element that not many other teams have, right? They will get the playoffs. I think they could get there. Will they beat the Bills? I think they'll struggle. I think I'd be surprised if the Bills don't win the East. I would be very surprised. They're a good team. They're a very good team. They're putting teams away like they should. This isn't a direct knock on Buffalo. I just think they've done well against teams, or they've done well against teams that are okay. I'm not sold on the Rams. The Rams barely put the Giants away. The Rams aren't as great as what people think they are. They barely put the Eagles away. They're kind of a fraudulent team. If you want to talk about NFC contenders, for me, the Rams.
Good transition.
For me, the Rams are absolutely pretenders. I think they're garbage. to be honest with you, you beat Dallas, Philly, and the Giants. You beat the NFC East. Great. Congrats. Like, come on. At this point, most teams are. Actually, every team is, kind of. Hell, even Cincinnati nearly beat the Eagles. They got a draw out of them. Like, that's just ridiculous, right? So at that point, I'd say that. And if you're looking at contenders for me, I've rolled with Tampa. I'll roll with Tampa at this point. I think that defense is very underrated. I think if Tom Brady stays upright, they will compete in every game. They will be tough to take down. They're putting up 35 points without some of their best players. That, to me, is impressive. It's not like Carson Wentz is putting up 35 points without anyone. He's almost in that Dak Prescott ilk where they're dragging teams along with him, which is hard to do. But if the longer Tampa stay healthy and upright and that defense can eat, I think Tampa are serious contenders at this point, with the Rams being, what are they, 3-1, 2-2? Whatever. I don't buy into them at all.
Formidable front seven with Tampa.
Yeah,
so,
they're going to be hard to beat. Like, they're going to make, like, as if Matt Ryan's not going to make mistakes against them. That game's coming. I can't wait. It's going to be amazing. But like, they'll get after Bridgewater, they'll get after Breeze, and I think I'll beat New Orleans in the return game. But
Gladys, any NFC contenders that you want to speak of?
NFC contenders, I'm going to go Packers. I think Aaron Rodgers is. I just, that whole they drafted a quarterback to replace me thing is going to propel him to pull that team to win, as he is doing now. Like, I think they'll win tonight. Pretenders, unfortunately, I think it's Seattle. I don't think their defense is going to be able to stand up. They've lost so much, and their defense is letting people score, except for Miami, but it's letting people get so many yards on them. I just don't think the defense is going to be able to hold up when it counts during the playoffs.
And I mean, happy to hear the Packers, but I see the three best teams in the NFC. As much as, okay, you can talk about the structure that those teams have, the weapons, not so much the defense with Seattle as we're talking, but I look at who are the three best quarterbacks in the NFC. I think it's unequivocally Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, and Tom Brady. And they're, I would maybe even argue those are maybe the three next best teams in the NFL after the Chiefs.
But my whole thing is that the playoffs are played in the wintertime. It's going to be it's a defensive thing. It's a passing league. I totally agree with that. But if you don't have a defense,
I'm telling you, I still think Pittsburgh are real. That Steelers defense, if they're healthy, they're going
if they can stay healthy,
and trouble. Like, they will break teams in that cold in December. They call it AFC North football, right? They're going to break some people.
And more than the defense staying healthy, I think it's Ben. And early returns he looks good. So I think at this point, there shouldn't be much fear of the elbow not being strong enough for re-injury in that particular way. That was just a freak thing anyway when that happened. So, I mean, with Ben, it's just the normal, is he going to take hits and things like that? But it seems, they're running a bit more. They've done pretty well to protect him. It's always been a good offensive line. And just to touch on the Packers, I do want to brag about this, but through 3 weeks, Football Outsiders has them at number one in the run blocking department, but also I think number 3 in pass protection. And they were top 5 in almost every run blocking stat, except the power run, which they were 29th in the league. So it seems maybe those, that 1 yard run is maybe elusive to them. I know Aaron Jones has had a few getting stuffed 4th and 1 goal line carries. I mean, he's managed to get touchdowns in tons of games, but that offensive line is playing so well. And I didn't know that was going to be the case without Brian Bulaga. So that was, I think they've adjusted well. Billy Turner playing right tackle. And I think he used to do that with Denver, but seeing him do it with the Packers was concerning to know that he was doing it. But once, he played pretty well last week, actually. He had to block Cameron Jordan a few times. Or Jordan Cameron, I can't remember. I always mix them up. I'm pretty sure it's Cameron Jordan. I
think Jordan.
Bulaga's hurt, so you guys dodged a bullet on that one.
Yeah. It basically, it was funny how the Packers Saints last week was kind of even for even. No Thomas, no Adams, no Kenny Clark, no Marcus Davenport. It kind of both missing the same pieces. So I guess not the case with Atlanta. Again, Devontae Adams out, it seems like both Julio and Ridley will play, so maybe the health edge this side is on the Falcons. But again, 7-point favorites. I don't know if that's been adjusted with the news of Adams being out, but I still have confidence in the Packers. So I guess final thoughts, because it is now 7:00, so Eastern time, and the games are about to start.
Yeah. For the Packers, my thought is the pickup. Oh, it's going to be too late now. Never mind.
Well, they play at 8:50, so you could still technically, especially in leagues where you can drop players that have already played on your bench, you could still technically pick up a Packers or Falcons player, I think.
So the tight end then,
Robert Tonyan?
Yeah, pick him up if you have someone. If Adams is out and he was one of your players, and you need someone, do it now.
And I mean, if he's not available, I think Sternberger could have just as much of a chance as well. They're going to need all the targets they can from everybody. But yeah, Tonyan, I think, is the preference between the two.
Yes.
I think we've discussed this before, but when Devontae Adams is out, I always feel like it's a Jamal Williams game. Jamal Williams is going to pop up and do something today. I can feel it. It's just going to be one of those days where how frustrated Aaron Rodgers is going to get with Reggie Begelton, Malik Turner, and who else have they got? I don't even remember.
Darius Shepard.
Ryan Grant.
I'm actually excited for Reggie Begelton, to be honest. But
no. It's a CFL thing. I get it. But, I kind of feel like you're playing a game that is there to be won against a team that has had points put on them really quick, really often, and how much he wants to keep tempting himself with that, while you've got Marquez Valdez-Scantling as your number one at the moment. I think it'll be something where they lean on Aaron Jones completely, and Jamal Williams will be sprinkled in too.
Do you think if Atlanta loses this game, Dan Quinn loses his job?
No, I don't think so. No.
Okay. Could happen.
Last year they went 0-7. He was Teflon then. I think this will be an end-of-season deal.
It sounded like, though, they needed that stretch at the end of the year. Maybe the owner will let that happen again. Okay, we'll let it go through the season, but if we don't see any progress, it's done at the end of the year. I definitely don't see Dan Quinn coaching this team next year, but maybe you're right. Maybe
it's not like they're playing for a quarterback either. Matt Ryan is playing as well as he ever has at points.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
It's not like they're a team that's in dire need to be the 101. This isn't something that's going to happen. Like, they're going to lose games. I don't think. It's going to be one of those things at this point for Atlanta. Are the Falcons in that much of a worse position than what the Jets are? No. The Jets are just awful, and the Jets are just terrible, and Adam Gase is still getting by. And, I don't know if Atlanta's going to –
that Bill O'Brien was the first coach fired. I mean, because Gates is just –
bad. He's putrid. But at the same time, listen, Atlanta's scoring 35, 40 points a week as well. They're almost in the same boat as Dallas.
Sure.
They're just not letting themselves down on the other side of the ball. They're doing okay putting them up. And Matt Ryan, Julio, Ridley, Gage, they all look good. Hayden Hurst as a free agent recruit, he's looked okay. They're doing their job on that side of the ball. The O-line looks okay too. Like, they're okay, but they can't stop the breeze on top of a hill at this point. They're just bad. But
the Drew Brees on top of the hill.
There we go.
I've heard that before.
Yeah, there we go. But that's for them. I don't see Quinn getting fired. He could, but if they wanted to fire him for the same sort of thing, they would have done it a year ago, I think,
or a week ago.
After
you blow a second straight game like that.
Yeah, I mean, if you could play Matt Ryan at quarterback, I'm sure he'd do it. But
Breeze on top of the hill. Don't be surprised if you see that in an article that I write this week.
You can throw it in there. This is what I do. I sit in dark rooms thinking of things.
And now speaking of them, but speaking of what you're of Jamal Williams, right? And maybe that's how the Packers do approach this. Okay, we're going to be run heavy today. As much as the Falcons secondary is bad, is the front seven that much better to where they can't stop the run? So I could see the Packers. We're gonna control time of possession, because here's the thing: as a Packers fan who's had a recent history of watching the Packers games against the Falcons, it doesn't matter how healthy Julio Jones is; he is usually unstoppable.
Yeah.
So
it could be a game where, would you be surprised to see Tonyan, Sternberger, Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams on the field at the same time frequently. I wouldn't be surprised at all. And if Williams is out there, he could be a guy that does some work this week.
Wait, who's the third tight end on the Packers? Don't they have three?
Well, Marcy, but he's probably not going to play. I don't think he's been ruled out yet, but he didn't practice all week, was listed as doubtful. And since Adams was questionable and didn't play, I'm going to assume Lewis isn't playing. Josiah DeGuara listed as questionable as well. So he might be the third tight end, or they may not have a third tight end. I know they did because, you mentioned Reggie Bangleton was called up and he's playing, so the extra receiver there. And
you're getting darker. Do you know that?
I know. The lights went out before I got in here, and
it's slowly fading to black. It's slowly fading away.
Is that the sign for us to sign off?
Like when the lights flicker.
I'm a human hombre, but it's one of those things. I'm also looking to see what I want to see what this Kansas team can do against. I want to see how ruthless they are tonight. That's what I want to see. I just want to see them
run the score.
You know what I like? I like seeing good teams put their foot on the throat and just stomp. That's what I want to see. I want to see Kansas. I don't care if it's like a weakened Patriots team. I want to see them just absolutely destroy them, just to see them do it. I think, Mahomes he's untouchable at this point, and the Patriots obviously without Cam Newton, this is going to be a tough one. They lost 6 players at the start of the year to opting out on their defense, and all the players that left in free agency. If there was ever a time to absolutely give it to Bill Belichick, this is the week. And I want to see how ruthless Mahomes and the Chiefs can be tonight at home in prime time. I think that'd be more so than individual performances. I just want to see how they go about it, because they are at times, Chiefs fan or not, they are phenomenal to watch. What they're doing the last 2 years it's been magic, hasn't it? So, thank you, Ben McAdoo, for trying to come up and get Patrick Mahomes. We tried. We said no. We've got Eli.
Who did they draft instead? Was that Eli Apple?
Eli Apple. Yeah. That's all right.
To be fair, a lot of teams passed up on Mahomes that shouldn't have. So the Giants aren't alone. We definitely know the Bears were one of them.
Ben McAdoo tried to come up for Patrick Mahomes and got fired for trying to play Davis Webb, and he played Geno Smith instead. The guy knew it. He saw the writing on the wall, and here we are. He could have been a Giant. God damn.
Well, can you see the writing on the wall with the dark lights?
It's ghost writing.
Oh yeah, neon lights. There you go.
Yeah, I would be out of here very quickly if that happened. I promise.
Well, I think we're actually going to get out of here. So before we do, anyone want to share their Twitter handle or plug any work?
Sure. You can find me on Twitter at neverenoughglt. And I just want to, I guess I should have been reading this all along, but last week I read Kyle's Red Zone article, and if you guys are looking for Red Zone stats, you should probably get in on that, because it was really good. Not that I didn't think it wouldn't be good, I just never saw it before. It was really good. So if you guys want some Red Zone stats, that's where you go.
Yeah.
Thanks.
The big shocker is Jordan Howard, I think, is second in the league in carries inside the 5. And, I mean, he's actually scored on a lot of them. I think those are his only 8 touches all year, though. So that's Jordan Howard.
Hashtag efficient. There you go. You can catch me at the B League Says on Twitter, or at Back Row Giants. I host the Giants. If you haven't noticed, there's a bit of a theme with me. A Back Row Giants podcast. You can get that anywhere, really, I guess. I write for GoingFor2. I have the game plan for the week, which is fun. I have a bit of fun with that. And it's a bit of fun. It used to be something else, and it used to be absolutely horrific to write.
5,000 words?
It was 5,000 words, every week, give or take. It was atrocious, and it would be about one player. I don't have to do that again. I also write for the Back Row Fantasy Show. They are awesome dudes. They are so much fun to write for and listen to. More importantly, I'm a fan of their show. They are fantastic, and I write Fantasy Impact with them. Shout out to them also. They are just great. Everyone should give them a listen. They are a lot of fun. Also do IDP Dynasty as well. But I've got a couple articles here, a podcast there, a weekly show with you guys in the dark. That's great.
That's what we're going to read.
I I'd be in all sorts of trouble if I zip this up.
I know on Saturday nights they have Going for Two has the War Room After Dark. This is the War Room During Dark.
During the dark, it's your inner consciousness. Just put your headphones on, close your eyes, and I'll tell you who not to play.
All right. Well, first off, thank you, Gladys, for the shout out on the article. I'll shout out Dan's article because I always remember a couple years ago he did a game plan, I think, on Russell Wilson, how he was just regularly being disrespected.
Oh, that was the pros and cons. It was
the pros and cons, right? Yeah.
it was very brutal, and that was on Brian Schottenheimer as well. And that was when Schottenheimer first really got there. And
yeah,
to say it's still very apt today. Also, the Kenyon Drake one still stands up. It's the same problem. If you can find it, it's still on there. The Kenyon Drake pros and cons is very, very apt, and it still holds up from when he was in Miami.
Yeah, I was going to say there's a Dolphins Drake, Cardinals Drake. It's the same thing.
It's 100% the same thing. People need to. Yes, you've drafted a 15th round running back at the end of the first. Congratulations. You're all shocking.
Okay. I'm also at Senra Says. So you can follow me on Twitter. Here at Going for Two, write my weekly Yahoo DFS article. I know DraftKings, FanDuel tend to be the more popular ones, but if you want some Yahoo advice, definitely check out what I contribute on a weekly basis to Going for Two. So here we are, Going for Two, and we're going out. Again, Gladys, Dan, thank you for joining me.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you all. Yeah, thank you all the listeners.
Wish your daughter happy birthday, belated. I hope she had a good time.
Yes, my daughter turned 4. She's a princess. You broke. It's great. You may never see me again. That's great.
Well, we can barely see you now with the dark. So.
Bye, guys.
Is that?
I'll have to borrow one of her princess dresses to guide my way through the building. It'll be great.
Source of heating, everything. It's multifaceted. Gladys is gone, and I think that's the sign for us to leave. So thank you all, listeners. See you all next week.